How are you?
Good. How are you?
Not bad, bro. Not bad.
Yeah. Been
Doing
busy?
something very busy. Just trying to keep busy. I like being busy, so it's good. How about you?
Yeah, man. You know it's the time of year, eh? It's
Oof,
November, December. That's the rush in medical aesthetics, as you know. So, what about you?
absolutely.
What about your projects? I want to hear more about this whole fusion labs here.
Yeah, it's back to basics for me. I'm going back to R&D, starting from scratch. I'm looking
That's
at
exciting.
working on, I want to work on new things that I wasn't doing before. I want to go in a totally different direction from what I was
Mm,
doing at Prolenium and start something
mm.
new. So I'm kind of excited about that.
Can you tell us a little bit more about it, or you have to kill me?
No, no, I can tell you. I mean, I think just in my career. I mean, when I started, hyaluronic acid was obviously like the big thing
Yeah.
because we had collagen for such a long time,
Yeah.
and there was a lot of inherent issues with collagen. But I think the landscape in aesthetic, especially around the materials that we can use in aesthetic, are changing.
Mm.
And people are, looking for alternatives to products that are on the market now. And in any business that you're doing, you want to create something that's differentiated. You don't want to, go and do the exact same thing other people are doing because it's much tougher to sell a product that you have 10 other competitors versus something where you're the only one. So I think,
Having a unique product.
yeah, and I think looking at the aesthetic space in general, and just looking at not only the injectable side, but also the energy-based device side and the topical cosmeceutical side, there's not really much innovation in terms of the products that are on the market. Um, so I think it's my job as an innovator and somebody that's interested in that side of the business to look at what's new. Um, and that's kind of what I'm doing. I don't want to go back to doing like traditional fillers, hyaluronic acid. I want to do something totally different. I'm looking at different kinds of materials that, um,
Polymers. There's a
yeah,
lot of that on
different.
the market these days.
Yeah, like hyaluronic acid is fantastic. It's a great uh, material to work with for the skin because it's obviously such a high level of biocompatibility, easy to
Yeah.
use, safe. There's a safety profile around it,
Yeah. Yeah.
but it's not everything that we need in an aesthetic tool belt, and I'm sure you can attest to that. Like it
Yeah.
does a few things really well, but it doesn't do everything. It's not a jack of all trades, which was kind of like the way that it has been portrayed. And as we're learning more about it, we're realizing you need different materials for different indications, and you're seeing a lot of practitioners now using exosomes.
Mm.
They're going towards other types of material like PDRN, polynucleotides.
Yep.
So there's this eagerness not only on the practitioner side but on the patient side to look for new products. And I want to do research around new raw materials first and
Mm.
foremost. So my focus has been now on not necessarily on the finished product side of the business, but on the raw material side of the business because believe it or not, in aesthetic, there's not a lot of providers for raw
Man,
materials either. That
that's
are
what I heard. Yeah, I heard that even in the hyaluronic acid filler space, there's not too many people manufacturing raw HA.
right. Yeah,
There's only a few couple of players out there, and the ones that are able to manufacture HA, well, they're somewhat at an advantage compared to all the other ones.
yeah.
So then you can tweak it.
And the other interesting thing is that when I started, the manufacturing of HA was also at an inflection point because previous to when Juvederm and Restylane, these products came out, the fillers that were on the market that were with HA were made from HA that was derived from rooster comb, so it's an animal derived source. And
Hmm.
previous to that, you had collagen that was from bovine or porcine, and later on there was another porcine product again. And but with advancements in fermentation technology, biofermentation, synthesis, most of the hyaluronic acid now that's being sold is through manufactured through
Bacteria.
biosynthesis. Yeah, so it's
Yeah.
non-animal,
Yeah.
and you're seeing that happening now with other products as well, with the exception of, for example, PDRN, which is still sourced from salmon and trout sperm.
Yes.
So
Yes. Yeah.
there's all these advancements. It's moving really quickly, and I'm trying to figure out what I believe would be the most ideal raw material that would work in the skin. That's not hyaluronic acid. That's not PDRN. That's something new. And that's kind of what my research focus is going to be on at the new company.
Something new, something completely different. Yeah, because what I've been seeing a lot in the market, and if you've been to Southeast Asia, what they're doing now is they're doing these sort of biostimulators, but they're sort of combining them together. So you'll
Right.
have a PLLA combined with HA and calcium hydroxyapatite. Like they're putting all of it all together.
Yeah. No,
You're
I think
seeing,
that's the new trend right now is
yeah,
intradermal. So it's interesting. Intradermal products that can be, that have biostimulatory aspects to them that can be put right into the skin. So, I mean, what is the thing that we've kind of learned over the past 25 years is that fillers are not necessarily great at treating skin quality in the dermis. So as much as we've tried to spin it, cross-link products are not the best for intradermal injections because, first of all,
agreed.
they're pretty lumpy,
Mhm.
and they tend to draw a ton of water and expand that area unevenly almost. So even though like most healthy young people have a lot of HA in their dermis, but it's not cross-linked, and that's the difference. So
Yeah.
there's been people talking about this for decades, saying that you shouldn't put cross-linked HA in the dermis, and I completely agree with that because there's material now that's just far better for intradermal injection than hyaluronic acid, cross-linked hyaluronic acid. I still think there's a place for linear HA. I think it's a great product for intradermal, but there's new stuff now that's better for those.
Yeah.
Inside the skin, I think one area that you'll see the inadequacy of what we have right now is like acne scarring. We don't. I don't think there's a lot of great products yet that are purpose built for acne scars, because when you put cross-linked hyaluronic acid, it tends to look really good the day of, but then like a couple days later, it starts to kind of draw water and expand, and then it can kind of look like a bump as opposed to what you wanted it to look like. So our understanding is changing and it's growing, and biostimulatory products, skin boosters, which some people are calling them, are products that feed your body's skin, almost like injectable moisturizers with all the good ingredients that people want to put in their skin. Is, I think, going to be the next trend.
Well, a lot of patients are looking to sort of mix and match aesthetics with wellness and longevity as well. So it fits into that whole biohacking sort of trend that's been going on these days. But I do agree that most medical aesthetic practitioners, we want good, healthy skin. We want good, healthy, hydrated skin. And if that's the basis of most things in medical aesthetics, then having a product that can just provide that is already excellent. Now, here in Canada, we don't have things like, in other countries, like they have this thing called Profilo. But at the end of the day, it's still HA, right? It's still hyaluronic acid, pretty much.
Actually, there is when I was at Prolenium, we launched a product, and I think they're selling it now under Renew. And
Renew,
it is a combination of low and high molecular weight HA that I think it's a fantastic product, and it's very similar to the idea behind Profilo. Because when I first saw Profilo, I was like, this is really smart, because they get such a large amount of hyaluronic acid, such a high concentration, but it's still very easy to inject, and it performs really well intradermally, which I think is a problem a lot of cross-link products have. They don't do well intradermally. But you're right. In Canada and the US in specific, there's not a lot of products that are approved for injection that are real skin boosters.
Regulation, I'm
Yeah.
assuming.
Yeah,
Yeah.
regulations, and
Yeah.
the other thing is, you know, in order to get the product approved, you have to kind of have an endpoint for the study. And
Yeah.
up to now, most of the endpoints have been for tissue reconstruction are being used as a filler. So,
Yeah.
you know, in order to get these approved, you have to have some sort of an endpoint that is still a almost like a filler-like endpoint, especially for the FDA. So, you know, things like crow's feet, for example, are would be interesting because you can treat those areas with intradermal non-cross-linked
That's linked.
injections, HA. So,
Yeah.
and it works really well. But my advice to practitioners is based on the science. I would never put a product like, you know, that what's that Allergan product now that they have for a skin booster? Uh, it's that
Um,
Skinvive.
Skinvive, right?
Yeah, I
Skinvive.
would
Yeah.
never. And this is
Yeah.
no, I'm
But
not
that
trying
one, that
to.
one's not inter. They don't say intradermal. They say more like subdermal with the Skinvive, because
Yeah,
if not,
which then I
it's
don't
too
really
lumpy.
understand. I don't
It's
really
too
understand
lumpy.
what the point of a subdermal skin booster is because you're beneath the skin, so it's you're
Yeah.
just selling a filler at that point.
Mm,
But
yeah. Yeah.
I mean, you know,
Um,
what we know about, like what we're learning more about the skin is that this intradermally inside the skin, there's all kinds of material. It's not just hyaluronic acid, but you have like collagen and elastin and
last
fibrectin, and there's
yeah.
amino acids, and you know, so if you're just replacing one element that potentially is hydration, what about the other things? How do you support the other functions of the skin? And that's going to
Hmm.
be kind of the basis of my research.
Yeah, yeah, that must be quite difficult to find the right product. I mean, you can have topical applications, you can have injected applications, you can have even oral, tablets, pharmaceutical sort of applications these
Yeah.
days. There's a whole, peptides are really taking over even in the States, I would say. So people are really trying to get into that sort of longevity. And I think that having overall the basic that most people should have, as in prevention, protect your skin, give it its nutrients that it needs, you're overall going to have pretty good skin. That's why at our clinic, we'll say things, basic things like stop smoking, don't drink alcohol, limit those things, because that is really going to be at the core of your skin health at the same time, no matter as how many injectables and all these lovely treatments that you do. But
Yeah.
if we're able to find, as you say, a nice product that is biocompatible within the skin, that has good longevity on top of it, I'm sure a lot
Mhm.
of patients would be very interested in having healthy looking skin overall and
Yeah.
not always just volumizing.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. And, you know, you touched on something that is very perceptive, and that is, you know, this idea that, you know, as a physician or a practitioner, you can have someone come in with bad skin and you can cure their bad skin just with external factors like energy-based devices or injections. And you and I both know that that is not true.
Mhm.
If someone has underlying health issues, if they're, you know, they're deficient in certain nutrients, if they don't have the right diet, if they go in the sun too much, if they're drinking too much alcohol, smoking, I mean, you can do whatever you want, but the foundation of this person's aging is already set in motion. Like you can't change it with a bunch of injections and some laser
Exactly.
IPL treatments and, you know, like ultrasound or whatever, or plasma. You can't. I mean, you could do some things, but the underlying foundation of this person's health is incredibly important. And you know what you're seeing is people that are a lot of places, especially in South America, when you go or Korea. When I was in Korea, when I was in South America and I visited clinics, what I saw that was different there than what we're doing in North America is that the patients have opportunity to buy supplements there. There's supplements
Mhm.
for
Mhm.
anti-aging.
Mhm.
There's probiotics. You know, there's stem cell treatments that they're doing, peptide treatments, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
Like something as simple as supplementing with vitamin C
Mhm.
can improve people's skin because, you know, human beings are the only mammal, I believe, that I think us and dogs, no, I can't even remember what else, but we don't make our own vitamin C. We need to take it endogenously. And you'd be surprised how many people don't take enough vitamin C during the day because you
Mhm.
can't get it.
Mhm.
You know, like let's think about this for a second. Most of the vitamin C that people get now is through carbonated drinks or fruit juices. which are
Insane.
those are fortified with vitamin C as a preservative.
Hmm.
So people aren't eating fresh fruit and vegetables to get their vitamin C. They're getting it from packaged foods and drinks that are fortified. So in essence, you're taking supplements, but you're just getting them through the junky food that you're eating. And based on many of the studies that I've seen, just taking vitamin C can improve your skin health.
Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
and that's costs the patient $30 a month to take vitamin C. Comparing
Absolutely.
that, to getting a treatment that is much cheaper, but it can provide profound results in the person's skin.
Hmm.
So, it's for wound healing, for example, vitamin D and vitamin C for your immune system and your immune health. If you're getting acne or cuts and they're not healing, is a lot of it has to do with the fact that your diets could be pretty shitty. Excuse me,
Definitely
but
essential. No, but it's definitely essential, and that's why we tell pretty much all of our patients are the ones that are diabetic that come to our clinic, the ones that are hypertensive, the ones that have high cholesterol that come to our clinic. I mean, it's all great that they're coming into our clinic wanting, the usual dermal filler, even some biostimulatory treatments, but
Mhm.
the end goal is to look better in a certain sense. And in order to look better, you need to have healthy skin. So healthy habits
100%.
kind of sort of go along. The problem is that these days, a lot of people want the quick fix. And I
Yeah,
get it. I get it.
yeah,
It's easier. And all of the businesses that are performing well are the ones that are providing some sort of service that are making our lives easier in some sense, right? The
absolutely.
internet, tech, Wi Fi, whatever it is. And I think people are looking for that solution, but I think it's important to just bring it back to the basics that we already know in terms of science. Now, there's that R&D, which you have Ariel Coachman on one side saying, I'm going to find that lovely, lovely next thing. And I wish you all the best of luck. And I'm sure you're going to crack the code. And then there's us practitioners as well, who still
Right.
need to give the right information in terms of science that's already out there. So we need both of it. The world is moving so fast these days. You need innovators, you need your clinicians as well. And you kind of need to bounce off ideas on both of them because as a clinician, you see things in the practice that certain people in R&D might be able to use later on because after
Yeah.
that you want to be able to have a useful sellable product that is going to improve at the end of the day someone's either appearance, skin health, hydration, one of those things, right? So I
Right.
think that's absolutely essential.
Yeah, I think I 100% agree. And clinics, I think, in North America need to start looking at patients as a whole,
Yeah. Yeah.
and treating them
Absolutely.
because I talked about this before with people. And one of the things that I've noticed about aesthetics is that, going to your esthetician or your hairstylist, you go there and you go because you want the conversation, you want to see the person, you have a relationship with the person. It's very similar
Yeah.
to going to a
Yeah.
hairdresser.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
when you're going to visit your dermatologist or your doctor, it's still very professional.
Hmm.
It's a
Hmm.
different relationship. And bridging those two worlds together, I think, is important. Where a lot of aesthetic places now that do have a full-time physician there, or if it's a doctor's office that you're there all the time, you need to have a relationship with this patient where you know the whole story. And I think
Absolutely.
that's where the industry is going. It's overall wellness. It's like
Yes.
if you have a patient coming to see you but they're going to Shoppers to buy their skincare and their supplements, well, you're
Yeah.
missing an opportunity to not only sell them something, but to treat the whole. And I think that's the important thing is, the good places that I see that do really well, they really take their time to look at the patient as a whole and not just
Hmm.
treat it like, we're only treating your skin or we're only going to treat your pigmentation.
Yeah.
Well, what else do you do? Like, how can we look at your overall health? And I think that's kind of the direction that we need to go in. And one of the best examples of this I saw was when these people are coming because they want to feel better about themselves.
Mm.
So they're not necessarily just coming there because they want to look better. They want to feel better.
Hmm.
And those two things are not the same thing, right? Because if you don't
Agreed.
have if your mental health, your underlying health is not good, even if your skin looks better or you look better, you might keep coming back for these treatments because you don't feel better.
Hmm.
And you'll see this with people that get all kinds of weird plastic surgery or too many treatments of something because they just keep
Yeah.
coming back trying to fix something. But
Yeah.
what they're trying to fix is not 100% the way they look, it's the way they feel. And when when Ozempic and these GLP-1s came out, we noticed that fillers took a hit,
Mm-hmm.
and it was what I think it was because of was that people were feeling better about their confidence by losing weight. So they were getting their fix just from that weight loss. They were like feeling great about themselves again. And so
Yeah.
they weren't coming in for those other treatments because they felt like their confidence was up. So we're not really in the business of selling treatments. We're in the business of selling confidence, helping people with their self-confidence, which is a
Absolutely.
much more holistic thing than just getting individual treatments done.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think there's been a big rise in wellness clinics as well, who do take that holistic approach, not just a injectables approach or a lasers approach. And I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think those clinics are going to be the clinics that are going to be the most successful in the future. The ones that are going to be able to not only treat your lifestyle habits, going to know you from A to Z, but they're also going to be able to address your aesthetic concerns through feeling. That could be certainly one of them. But certainly having A to Z approach is always the best approach generally. And we apply that into medicine as well. Because I still work as a private family physician. And we take a look at the patient from A to Z. Now, we don't just take a look at a cardiovascular system, the endocrine system. We kind of take a look at it A to Z. So we talk about the mental health, we talk about sleep, we talk about physical activity, we talk about diet and nutrition,
Right.
all of these key factors that I think that some people are kind of missing out in their lives because we're so busy and not focusing on our health, which at the end of the day, our health is the most important thing. Without our health, we can't do much. We can't innovate. I can't do my art. You can't innovate, for example. These are things that are essential for us. And although I love this extreme boom in aesthetics and the drive towards regenerative medicine, I think there has to be a little bit of caution sometimes in what direction that we go into. Some things that are a little bit too novel can come with its own risk and side effects, but that's kind of the price you have to pay when you have to innovate at the same time. So we have to be able to minimize the risks on our future patients, but at the same time be able to innovate because you want to be able to offer the best treatment for your patient with minimal side effects. That's what non-surgical aesthetics has always been about.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. And there has been a bit of pseudoscience in our
So
space.
much,
Yeah,
so much. My
yeah.
goodness, yeah, a lot of misinformation.
There's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of treatments. I'm not going to name names, but there's a lot of treatments and things that are being sold and done right now that don't really have enough scientific evidence.
Absolutely.
They do an animal test or something, and then they'll say, "Oh, this works for wrinkles. It's the best thing
Absolutely.
ever." And the
Yes.
cosmetic rules are pretty lax in terms of what you can get approved. So uh,
Hmm.
there's a lot of stuff that's on the market that's being sold online that is not necessarily does it, I mean, it's probably safe, but it doesn't do anything.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
and what I'm seeing is a lot of that stuff is coming from the Far East because there, over the last 20 years in Korea, there was this huge movement and infrastructure and support from the government to get Korean companies into the aesthetic space. And, you've seen a huge number of these companies, become successful with amazing products,
Yeah.
come to market. But the reason that that's happened is because the regulatory environment in Korea is much more lenient than that of North America or Europe.
I'm
So
sure. I'm
getting
sure.
a
Yeah.
product, like being able to get a product to market with no clinical trials, is a big advantage that we
Yeah.
don't have in North America or Europe. So these guys
Yeah.
are able to get products on the market quickly and,
Hmm.
and almost test them out on the market
Pretty much. Pretty
versus
much. Yeah.
yeah, versus North American companies, European companies that have to do all kinds of human clinical trials and to get these products
Hmm.
on the market. So we're at a huge disadvantage on this side of the pond where we can't actually keep up with the rate of innovation
Yeah.
because by the time we're done doing our clinical trials and launching a new product, we're like 5 years behind.
Hmm.
There's already 10 other products that have come out and in Korea or that we can't keep up with. So that's
Yeah.
one thing where I think it's a little bit difficult, starting a company in Canada or the U.S. But we have to try. We have to do our best to keep up. And the
Yeah,
innovation
no,
is only
absolutely.
it's only been good for the
Absolutely.
industry in many ways. So
Well, already that Canada has a big player in terms of hyaluronic acid, like Prelenium, for example. It's already a big thing, right? Canada before Prelenium, we didn't have anything much, you know.
no,
And
no,
even now, like I think Prelenium is still the biggest, on the field right now in Canada. There's no other second one, I would say. Whereas Korea has a couple in most things, I would say. Even in the dermal filler space, they'll have a couple.
yeah,
In the botulinum
yeah,
toxin space, they'll have a couple in the PLLA space, like biostimulator space, they'll have a couple of products. They're still the leaders when it comes to a lot of the products that are being launched on the market as well.
yeah.
Regulations, certainly, for sure.
What we did, I think Prelenium it was really interesting experience for me, building the company because most of the European companies that were doing fillers, it's like a very incestuous space where you'd have like one scientist start his own company and then one scientist start his own company. So for the most part, these companies were copying each other. So
Yeah,
if you go back and you look at the history of it, like the guy who started Juvederm, he went and he started Vivacy, and then the guy who was working at Juvederm, one of the scientists went and started Bellatero, or at that
yeah,
time was called Astellas, and then yet another guy. Chroma was just Bellatero. It was like, and if you look at these products, they're pretty much the same.
absolutely,
So
absolutely.
when we started, Reston being the only exceptions, the only really different one,
Yeah,
but
true. Yeah, a little different. Yeah,
when I started looking at doing R&D, I didn't have that luxury of hiring one of the scientists that worked at Juvederm or was at one of these other companies. So we really had to build that product from scratch.
from
And
scratch. Yeah,
in that way, it's a very uniquely Canadian product, and it still is the only North American filler that's produced in North America. So I'm really proud of that product and
yeah,
that company.
it must be. Yeah,
It's a great product, and obviously that's in my past now, and I'm looking to do
yeah.
something. Looking to do something new, but was one of the best experiences of my life building that brand and that product, and only good things to say and good memories of that.
Absolutely, yeah. And now we're going to be heading on to our closing remarks because thank you so much for your time, Ario. It's been absolutely a pleasure speaking with you because I think I see you as a visionary in the field. I can't wait to see
Thank you.
what you
Appreciate it.
have to bring to the Canadian market. Hopefully sooner rather than later. Hopefully the regulators aren't going to give you too much trouble in launching things. If you
Appreciate
need help
that.
on the Quebec side, you know that we're here to support you as well because
No,
I
I
think you had
appreciate
a
you. And again, it's such a pleasure to meet you. You're such a open-minded, and visionary in your field, and it's an honor and a pleasure to be able to sit here and talk to you like a friend about the industry because, at heart, I really love the industry. I love the business, and that's why I want to keep doing it. And I'm sure
likewise.
that's why
Yeah.
you do what you do because if you enjoy what you're doing, it's not a job. It's like a hobby that you hopefully get paid for. So.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I'm most likely going to see you at the next conference, whether it's in Montreal, Toronto, Vancouver, I'm sure. Are you heading to IMCAS? Are you heading to any of the AMWCs at some point,
You know
or
what? Yeah, I think I'm gonna go to IMCAS
maybe?
this
Yeah,
year and just to see
yeah.
what's going on. And I have a trip planned for Korea next month to visit
Nice,
look at some clinics, and
amazing.
I'm trying to keep my skills sharp. So
Yeah, for sure. Well, have a great trip as always. Safe travels, and we'll
thank
connect
you,
soon, Ariel.
my friend, and thank you. It's a pleasure to be on. Thank you.
Of course. Have a good one, Ariel. Thank you so
All the
much.
best.
All
Thanks
right,
so
bye.
much for having me. Bye bye.
All right, bye.